Serious stuff here. If you go to the supermarket, go into your food shop, you might be really conscious as to what you're eating. You might look at the ingredients, you might look at the list of foods, the list of additives going into your food, and you might put it back on the shelf and look for something a bit more wholesome, perhaps. What about if you're vegan? You probably are very vigilant. But new research has found that more than a third of foods labelled vegan contain animal products. The Trading Standards Institute has called for legal protection after forensic scientists found traces of egg and milk in an array of goods that were labelled as vegan or plant-based. And the unfortunate news is that there is currently no legal definition for vegan food, allowing firms to market their products as being so, even if they contain dairy foods. Vanessa Sturman is a plant-based health coach for Energize and Thrive Plant-Based. Good morning, Vanessa. Thanks for your time on BBC Hereford and Worcester.
Good morning. Lovely to speak to you.
Yeah, although not on this occasion, I suppose. I mean, your reaction to this news?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is transparency, and consumers actually being able to make informed decisions. If something's actually labeled as vegan, the implication, even though we know there's actually not a legal standard for this, the implication should be actually it is completely vegan and there's no traces of things like milk or eggs. However, as veganism is actually an ethical stance, so it's about excluding animal products from the diet, there are quite a lot of vegans who actually don't mind so much if there are traces. Now, that's because they're not actually putting money towards the animal product industry. But if you've got an allergy, whether you're vegan or not, it's potentially fatal. So regardless, food manufacturers absolutely need to take responsibility. However, there are some people who don't mind. And I've personally bought lots of chocolate in the past that's not been labeled vegan. I know it's got some traces, and I actually personally don't mind, but I don't have an allergy. So that's very important.
Well, it's interesting you say that some vegans won't mind, but some will who don't have a food allergy, but some are vegan out of principle. This is terrible news for them who have that principle and have vowed to stick to it. This is terrible news for people like that.
Yes, I think the point is as well that everyone falls into a slightly different camp. So there are some people who, like I said, don't mind that there's some traces. There's others where there's an allergy and it's really important. And then there's others that will say, actually, I didn't want traces at all. Why is that there? I didn't know that this was made in the same kitchen as other animal products. And really, this is all about being able to have the choice and being really informed about our decisions. And if food manufacturers are not labeling things properly, whatever camp you're falling into, you can't make an informed decision. And that's the really important bit.
Well, the other thing about the allergic reaction is that, of course, anybody who's had an allergic reaction because there's been a trace of dairy products or egg in their vegan food will probably attribute it to something else wrongly, perhaps.
Exactly. They won't be able to look at the packet and go, well, what was it that was in there? If it's not stating everything that's in there, they may not know at all. Some of them might be sure if they know the only thing they're allergic to is milk or eggs. But again, they won't know which product it was, and that's going to cause them some anxiety. And potentially, it might be fatal for them.
And that's the other thing as well, because they won't probably know, as you pointed out, that there is no legal protection or definition either. I mean, that's the tough thing here, is that if anything does happen like that, they're probably on shaky ground legally compared to the manufacturers.
Yes, that's right. And this is only just coming out as well, that there's no legal definition for if something is labeled vegan, what is the sort of maximum threshold of traces of things? Should there be absolutely nothing in there at all? This hasn't been defined, which makes it very shaky if there was anything legal going on. But it also means, again, that people don't know exactly what they're buying. And the same even with the word plant-based. There seems to be a difference of opinion as to exactly what that means as well. And again, that makes it difficult to make informed
Would
decisions.
it help if the labelling said may contain traces?
I believe 100% because that gives everyone their choice. Because, like I said, there's lots of vegans who don't mind about the traces because they're not putting money to animal products. So they wouldn't mind at all, but it's still an informed decision for them. And like you said, there's some people who would mind. And then you've got the allergy sufferers. They would be, very well informed as well. So this really goes back to food manufacturers making sure they're labeling things properly, taking responsibility so we all know what we're having. And all of this is a great reminder about the fact, whole foods, food made at home, we're much more in charge of our health anyway when we're doing that. But of course, we want to buy some products out as well, and they must be labeled properly.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because I was going to mention to you about it is going to push people in the direction of cooking stuff from scratch, because, of course, a lot of this stuff is processed anyway, and we're being told to avoid processed food. So this is just another nudge in the direction of cooking from scratch.
Yes, it really, really is. I mean, the way I see things is, have as many whole foods as possible, cook as much as you can from home, also saves us a bit of money as well. But we all want to have a treat every now and then. I mean, even at the weekend, I had a couple of bourbon biscuits that someone had, which were, call them accidentally vegan or plant-based. Now, that's a tiny, tiny part of my diet. And that's not, it's not a health food, but it's fine every now and then. But we really want to be focusing on more whole foods, cooking at home, less processed foods. And hopefully this will push everyone more in that direction. But when we do want to have that treat that's maybe a little bit processed, it's just making sure we're informed and that our allergy sufferers are very safe.
It's a good job you're not working here, because we've got a colleague who's just arrived for work called Biscuit Phil, because he's known for having biscuits. So I'll go and see if he's got some bourbons, because you give me the taste for them now. Thanks, Vanessa.
There we go. Well, check the label, of course.
I will do. I'll see if his bourbons are plant-based. There's the crucial thing. Do you dunk your bourbons, though? That's what I want to know.
Do you know what? It might be controversial, but I don't. I like the real crunch of a biscuit if I have one, and my coffee or tea separate. Is that okay?
Well, I was going to say, because some people like their cream biscuits, they pull them apart and then scrape the cream off with their teeth.
You know what? It says so much about a person and all our different ways. It's a study in itself, isn't it, how we eat biscuits?
Yeah, just think we're talking about table manners when it comes to eating biscuits. I can't believe it. Vanessa, thanks for the insight and the analysis. Good to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you
Lovely,
so much.
thank you. That's plant-based health coach Vanessa Sturman.